Hi everyone and welcome to this video concerning the MongoDB queries. So this video is part of our already running MongoDB tutorials playlist with all the different CRUD operations of MongoDB as well as some fundamental explanations of the concepts, the actual software and everything else. So to get started with this video, in this video we're going to cover queries. So this is the first video on queries. It will be part 1 of the queries videos because MongoDB has a lot of options for queries. It's very powerful, very complex. So we will go through it step by step. So to get started, in front of me I have MongoDB Compass, which is the graphical user interface for MongoDB, as well as MongoDB Shell, which is the command line client for MongoDB. So if I connect and then enter the database that I have, so these are some sample collections with different types of documents. So the collection we will be using is the products collection. It has 11 documents, just so we can have some more control over the data and see what we're really working with. So to get started, we usually query with MongoDB in a kind of central or main way, and that way would be using the find method. And within this find method, you would insert your conditions right here within the curly braces, and then you would enter and you would get your results. So let's just talk about the parallel between this and the MongoDB Compass. So on the command line client, we would say db.collectionName.find. All right. Okay, so similarly to the way we did insert and update and delete in the previous videos, if you've watched those, this is how we do it. So we do db.collectionName.find. Obviously, we do that after we select the database that we're using. So use my database. All right, so this is what we do. So here we're working with products. So if we db.collection, let's actually say the name, db.products.find, and we enter. Here we're placing no condition between the brackets. So meaning we're not filtering anything, we're not matching anything, we're actually going to get the results. So if we enter, this is every document. Now it looks pretty ugly and unappealing, so the way we can fix it is we just add the pretty function at the end and we get it in a nice JSON format. So these are all the documents in the collection. So this is how the db.collection.find method works. And it has a parallel method called find1. So in the case where we don't have, so if .find1, in the case where we're not putting any condition, what we would receive is the first document in the collection. All right, so this is kind of the basic of querying. This is finding. You find, you put a condition, and that's how you match and you get a query. So how does this relate to Compass? Okay, so you see this bar right here, and you see this button, and this button says find. So what this button basically does is that it executes db.products.find. And what this bar right here does is that it houses the conditions, the matching conditions for the query. So instead of typing here db.products.find, this would not work. Okay, so what do I type here? Here I type the exact same thing that I would put right here between the parentheses. So if I say I want price to be 200, so right here in this document we have price as 200, we press find, and that's how we receive this document. So this is basically how we match equality conditions. So let's just check it out in the shell. So db, okay, let's just reset here. Okay, so db.products.find, and we say price is 200. I will close, enter, and we get the first document. And of course, if you want it in a nice JSON format, we just .pretty. Okay, so that's basically how it's done. So this is how we query, and then everything else is simply learning how to match things and how to have different operators, but everything else would be within the find or find1 method. Okay, so what do we mean by operators? So we just learned the equality operator right here, and it's actually simplified in this case when we use the colon to say that we want price to be equal to 200. Okay, so now you actually know how to query MongoDB documents. Everything else is more a matter of editing what's inside these curly braces, what's inside the find function, what the argument is, and changing it and making it all sorts of things so you can get these different combinations of conditions and then applying it to your database and getting the relevant documents you need. So we learned the first operator, and that is the equality operator right here. So there are a bunch of other operators that I thought I would include in a PDF so it's more clear and we can actually read and see what we're doing. So these are the comparison operators, because most of the time we don't only want to see equalities, we want to compare numbers. So we have greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal. So these right here, these first four, are pretty straightforward. And so we can test it out to see that these are very straightforward and you can use them. So how do we do it? So right here, before that, we made sure that price is equal to 200. Now what if I want price to be greater than 200? So simply, what I need to do is that I open another mini document within the query and I say GT, which is greater than, or let's say GTE, greater than or equal to 200. Closing it, and then closing the other one, and we enter. And we get two documents right here. So we have the first document and the second document. This one has a price of 200 and this one has a price of 320. So this is how we use the greater than operator. So one last time, just to verify with MongoDB Compass, everything else I'll be executing on one of these platforms. So we say price, and we want price to be greater than or equal to 200. And if we close and we enter, and then we get these two documents. And if we change it to greater than only, we would only get one document. So that's pretty much how you do the querying. And this is one of the operators that we just learned how to use. So all of these four work in a similar fashion. Moving on. So the in operator matches any of the values specified in an array. So you want it to be equivalent to one of several values. So how do we do that? Okay, let's just reset here. Okay, so what if I want the name to be either AC3 phone, AC7 phone, or AC3 series charger? How would I do that using the in operator? So it's very simple. We do it like this. So db.products.find, and then we say we want name to be equal to in, and this is where we would put our array. So we put AC3 phone, oh my god, AC7 phone, and AC3 series charger. Alright, so we close our array, we close the curly braces, we close everything, and we enter. And in this case, we get three different documents, which is what we just tried to do. So this is what we get, and we matched with these. So if we want to do the same thing here, it would eventually result in the same results and have the same documents returned. So this is how in works. So let's just actually review the syntax. So in right here, what you do is that instead of matching it with one value such as greater than or equal here, so we matched greater than or equal with 200. So let it be GTE 200. We match in with an array of values. So we're saying I want name to be one of these three values. And we would get all the documents having name is equal to one of these three. And nin, or not in, works the exact same way but opposite. So here in this case, if we had replaced in with not in, we would get all the documents that do not have name as one of these. So I will not demo it for the sake of time, but you get the gist, you get the idea. And with this resource right here, you can try all of these, but these are pretty straightforward. These are numerical comparison operators, and this is matching with arrays, in and not in. Alright, moving on. So we not only have comparison operators, we have logical operators. So if you're anywhere near programming, you probably know how to use these. So you have the and, the not, the or, the nor. So it's very straightforward. So I'm just going to demo one real quick, and we can, and then we can just move on. So let's just clear. So db.products.find, and then we open up our document for the conditions. We say or, and we say we match this with an array of objects, and the objects are the other conditions that we want to match with one of them. So I want either price to be 19, or I want rating to be 3.8. So we have these documents. We close everything and we enter, and we receive these two documents. So here we get this document with rating 3.8 and this document with 19. There are no other documents with one of these. So it verified one of the conditions. So OR is kind of similar to IN, except OR can act on different fields. So you can have one, so either name is this, or price is 5, or But with IN, it's more of a thing where you're comparing one field with a series of values instead of just a series of conditions. Alright, so I really hope you understand the difference between IN and OR. And the AND operator works in the exact same way, as well as NOT and everything else. But one thing I want to highlight is that the AND operator has two different syntaxes. So you can either do it like this, replacing OR with AND, and it will just create an AND between these two conditions and retrieve the documents that satisfy both conditions, or we can do it like this. Okay, so db.products.find, and we open up the document for the condition, and then we say, let's say we want price to be 200 and we want rating to be 3.8, and in this case we would get the first document in our collection, which is true. So here's what I was trying to say, that in the first sense we have the AND would replace the OR in this case, and the second format for the AND operator, you would just simply list the conditions that we have in sort of a comma-separated fields, comma-separated key-value pairs inside the big document for the condition. So that's enough about logical operators. We also finished covering comparison operators. So finally, one thing we're going to cover is element operators, and element operators are pretty straightforward as well. So exists matches documents that have the specified field. So if I want to specify a certain field, let's just see. So I want the documents that have the field available existing. So as you can see here, these documents do not have this field. So here's what I do, db.products.find, and we would say, we first specify the field name. So we say available, and then we say exists is true. So this is how we would check and retrieve the documents that have the available field. We can also prettify this. Alright, so you can see all four of these documents have available. Okay, so this is how you use element operators. This is the fundamentals of querying. Everything else is combining and playing around with the queries to produce newer, more powerful queries. So this is how we just covered the fundamentals of querying. We covered logical, comparison, and element operators. You can play around with these. You can have queries that are very large with multiple conditions. All you have to do is combine them with or AND operators. You can have all sorts of different things. And then in the next video, we're going to discuss more complex queries like nested queries for nested arrays. So we're going to query the information inside arrays. We're going to query information inside nested documents, as well as other things. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe and hit the bell if you're interested, and please like if you enjoyed. Thank you very much.